Hello, my name is Cheryl Vega with Shape by Cheryl, your midlife menopause mentor. So here I am today to talk about menopause, and we're going to talk about 6 strategies to help relieve your menopausal symptoms. But before I get into that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about me, who I am, what I do, and how I got to be where I am today. So my name is Cheryl Vega. My husband and I, Colin, own a boutique fitness center called VIP Fit Club located in Macedon, New York. We are both personal trainers. We do group trainings, small group trainings, personal trainings, that sort of thing. And I also have a certificate in nutrition, and I am a health and wellness coach. So I do have a whole life previous where I was a teacher. I do have a degree in teaching, both ed and special ed, a minor in psychology, a master's degree in administration. I had a long life in the business world before I got into the fitness world. So my husband opened VIP in 2013, I want to say. I met him actually in 2014. And shortly thereafter, because I had a business background, he asked me to take care of the books. So I said, sure, no problem. I'll work on your books. Was able to take over the books. And shortly thereafter, maybe 3 or 4 months later, he said, I really need a good trainer. I haven't found anyone reliable. Would you go get certified and become a trainer? I said, absolutely not. Not my wheelhouse. That's not what I do. He said, I don't trust anybody but you. Would you do this for me? So I did. Long story short, that's where all the litany of my second act became the personal trainer, the health coach, the nutrition. I'm going to fast forward now because he and I have been together over 8 years. 2020, I had to have a hysterectomy. And so I share that because that's basically how I got to where I am today as an actual certified menopause coach. So I can speak from experience going through. I am 55 years of age. I'm a mother of 3. I'm a business owner. I wear the multiple hats just like all of you ladies do, where we go through phases of our lives where we are taking care of our parents, taking care of our significant others, taking care of our children, our house, our careers, and it just adds up. Putting those stressors onto an ever aging, that's what we're doing, ladies. Sorry, we're aging. And part of that becomes the focus of menopause and our hormones and our endocrine system. And they all get kind of funky and out of whack, and bam, you've got the perfect storm. So after I had my own situation in 2020, I was not happy with where I was. I was having all those menopausal symptoms, as many of you are having, with hot flashes, irritability, moodiness, sleepless nights, digestion problems, so on and so forth. And there's a litany of them. There are actually over 34 different menopause symptoms that are currently recognized, with more coming out as the research continues into this very little talked about and less researched topic of menopause. If you want any of that information, I did put some links over to my Instagram page where I do have my link tree, and there will be, I think there's a PDF over there that's something about 34 symptoms of menopause. So go through, because sometimes there are things that we think are, oh my God, something's wrong, and it's actually something simple as, and I hate to chalk it up to menopause, because when you put all those symptoms together, it feels like a bigger burden than what our bodies are going through. But heart palpitations is one of them. A lot of times we'll start getting heart palpitations, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, when it's just a normal phase of going through menopause. Obviously, go to your doctor, get it checked out, because you never know. But there are certain things that will come up that you may worry about that are simply our hormones going kind of wacky. So I digress. So after I started getting all of these wonderful symptoms and everything was going crazy, and I was doing my best to research it, because for 2 reasons, I am not doing HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. They also call it MHT, which is menopausal hormone therapy. That's the newer term, same exact thing. Research is showing that there is not the same cancer risk that there used to be based on newer research and things like that, but I still wasn't feeling comfortable as I have a very strong breast cancer and my mother died of uterine cancer history, just wasn't willing to go there. On top of that, my personal standpoint is if I can manage my menopause through lifestyle changes, that's what I would prefer to do. I'm going to tell you my personal philosophy on that. I am not against drugs. I am not against MHT, HRT at all. If that's for you, go for it. I made a personal choice not to for two reasons. Again, like I said, family history, although the research is starting to sway the other way, I wasn't willing to put myself into that risk factor. The other part of that is, especially doing my research, is looking into menopause. I want you to start to reframe this into a natural phase of life. It is the reverse of puberty. It's that simple. It's the exact same thing in reverse. Our hormones are going crazy. And instead of in puberty where they're activating and coming up and all over the place until they level out, we're doing the opposite, is ours are just dropping. Our estrogen levels are dropping, our progesterone, a little bit of testosterone, all those levels are dropping. And they're a little bit out of whack too, because our estrogen's gonna fluctuate. Our progesterone's gonna drop. There's gonna be different gaps between the two. I'm not gonna get into the science of it, but generally speaking, that's how I want you to phase this or phrase this phase of your life. Menopause is the reverse or the opposing of puberty. It's that simple. And if you recall back to whether you raised daughters or obviously you yourself went through puberty, we didn't start taking drugs and medications and this and that. We had to manage it through lifestyle change. So our moms would say to us, okay, cut out the sugar because you're having skin reactions, or make sure you're getting your sleep, or make sure you're eating because you're getting cranky, and all those different things. Exercise, get outside, get some fresh air, get some sunlight. All those things that we told our daughters or that our mothers told us still hold true now in reverse. So I think it's important that you keep that in mind. So that was my other choice, is if I can manage this naturally, just like going through puberty, then I want to be able to do that. Now, that's not for everybody. There is several women that may have absolutely no symptoms. There's like 8 to 10% of the female population have no to minimal symptoms of menopause. But that means there is a large amount that will have some degree of impact going through menopause, whether it is just hot flashes, whether it is a combination of, hot flashes were okay, sleeplessness, here and there, or you've got the full bang of, joint pain, heart palpitations, irritability, moodiness, anxiety, depression, thinning hair, vaginal dryness, pain during sex. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can get one, none, or all, or any variation in between. So again, HRT, MHT is not for everybody. If you are doing it, if you need it, absolutely, God bless, go and seek it out. I will say that the approaches that I'm going to discuss today will be just as useful if you are on any sort of hormone replacement therapy, because it is not a one pill cure-all. There are still lifestyle changes that will help ease your symptoms, and that's important to know. So these things, and they're not expensive, and they're not crazy, and they're not doable. These things that we're going to talk about are just lifestyle changes that you can incorporate, and you should incorporate into your life. So want to talk a little bit about perimenopause versus menopause. Perimenopause is that pre-menopause, right? It's us getting ready. Our hormones are starting to get out of balance. Our bodies want homeostasis. They want everything in balance. And when your estrogen starts to drop, and you'll know that these things are happening because your periods will start to change. You'll start to have these menopausal symptoms, whether it's a hot flash, irritability. You might not even know, bloating, certain things that you might not even know what it is, because they're going to start in your 40s. And I think that's sometimes scary, because people say, well, I'm only 41, 42, 43. That's when it's starting, guys. Like, you're going to start already. This is why, the medical field has said, if you're over 35, you are a geriatric pregnancy. You're into that next phase of life. There are 3 phases for us women in our reproductive. That's puberty, when we're getting into being able to have children. There is our childbearing years, which is when we're having children, right? And then there's our menopausal years, which is we're either about to or we're going into that phase of no longer having children. And that's starting in your 40s. So I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to say, be on the lookout. I've always said to my clients, even when I'm not talking about menopause, this is going across the board. What you do in your 20s and 30s will affect your 40s and 50s. So that's important. What you do in your 20s, 30s, and 40s will affect your 50s, 60s, and 70s. So think about it. You may not feel it at the time, but that's that long-term effect. So what you're doing, the habits that you're putting in place, the diet, the exercise, those sorts of things, although you may not feel it right away, in the long term will make a difference. I promise you. So keeping in mind, perimenopause is going to hit you in your early 40s, 40, 41, 42, 43, somewhere around there it starts. By 45, I guarantee you're in there. And you will know when you are in menopause, when you have had 12 consecutive months of no period. If you've had 8, 9, 10, and then you get it, you count that clock starting all over again. That's just how it works. Hate to tell you. So you might think you're almost there, 1 more month, 2 more months, and then bam, you get that period and it starts all over again. Once you're in menopause, the concept is, and there's tests you can do to see what your stimulating or follicle stimulating hormone is and what your numbers are to know that you're in full-blown menopause. Women that are having their period and it starts to fluctuate and it ceases after 12 months, you already know. If you are like myself and have had some issue, whether you had a hysterectomy or you had an ablation or something and you weren't getting your periods, you can ask your doctor for a test. They can check your hormones and see where your levels are. If you're at that age where you're like, well, I'm not quite sure, you can get it checked. It's purely for informational purposes. Chances are, unless, like I said, you're going to be looking into HRT, which then obviously we need to look at your hormones. It's for your own personal knowledge to know where you're at. Menopause on average in the US, and it does change by culture because there are cultural differences based on lifestyle, but in the US, our average age is about 52 to 53 when you hit menopause. So at 55 years of age, I am full-blown menopause, been through it all, I've done it. I've researched it. Here's the next part. Because I had experienced it and I had researched it, when I had the opportunity to become certified as a menopause coach, I jumped at it. So I will tell you, I found a professor in New Zealand who offered a course. It was a 12-week course. It was a certification going through the science and biology and the medical part of menopause and what happens, both what's happening to your body, what you can do about it, whether it is supplements, diet, certain sorts of changing lifestyle habits, which I will talk about, and into what could happen in terms of diabetes, high cholesterol, obesity, things start to kick in, heart disease. There is a true connection between women, menopause, and heart disease because of our hormone changes and the stiffening of our arterial lining. So that's important to know, which gets into that heart palpitations and blah, 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 blah. But I'm not going to get into the science of it today. I am here to talk about what you can do. So once you know, hey, I'm at that age of 40 plus, I'm in perimenopause, I'm at 50 plus, I'm in menopause, I'm having all these symptoms. What do I do? Find a good doctor. Huge. You need to have a support system if you have any medical issues, because there are other things that will come up as we age, like fibroids, and making sure that you're still doing your pap smears and your mammograms and all those fun things. But the second is to focus on yourself, your mental, your physical, and your emotional well-being. So jumping right into it, there are 6 key lifestyle changes, strategies that you can implement simply and easily to help get your menopausal symptoms in check and get some ease and some relief from what you're feeling. Number 1, so I hope you have a paper and pencil. I want you to write this down. Sleep. So I always say that and people are like, yeah, tell me about it. I need to sleep. I either can't fall asleep or I fall asleep and after 20, 30 minutes, maybe even I get 2 hours and then I'm jut open, wide awake. I have like adrenaline rush and my mind is going and I can't get back to sleep. You know, that's that 1 to 3 in the morning, 2 to 4 in the morning, you wake up, boom, and you're stuck. So I know this is going to be like, yeah, please tell me how because I can't. You need to get your sleep under control. And I'm going to touch on that in more depth in 1 second. I will tell you, I'm going to take a sip of water. I will tell you that one of the key things about getting your sleep under control first, before we even touch on diet and exercise, is if you are not sleeping, your energy, your focus, and your rest and recovery, those three, A, B, and C, are not going to be lined up for you to go ahead. And any diet and exercise you do will be useless. It won't work because your hormones and your circadian rhythm are off and your cycle, your sleep cycle is off, and those other things won't make a lick of difference. So the number one thing you need to do is get your sleep under control. Believe it or not, it will take time and patience and persistence and what I like to call consistency. You need to consistently get yourself into the routine that works for you to get a minimum of 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That is the number that is ideal as we age, and everybody's a little bit different, so it's not like a one set, you have to have 8 hours of sleep. But 7 to 9 is the range of quality sleep of, you know, those undisrupted hours that will make you most beneficial, reap the rewards so that you're feeling refreshed, you're rested, you're recovered, and you're ready for your day. Now, I will tell you, I personally was running at about 4, maybe 5 hours of sleep on average. I was not functioning very well, and it will lead to fatigue, brain fog, lack of focus, lack of concentration. You will literally almost feel like you are going towards dementia because you'll be forgetting words, or you're grasping at thoughts. It can get very frustrating. Lack of sleep is more detrimental to you than smoking, a poor diet, or lack of exercise. That's how important your sleep is. It's one of the number one things that, especially in our society where everything is go, 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 and us as women that are the head of our household, right? Whether we're married or not, we're taking on, come on, it's the reality. Now things are changing for my daughter's generation. My daughters are in their 20s, things are changing. But for most of us women, we are the mom, the spouse, the caregiver, the nurse, the taxi driver, the chef. We're taking care of, like I said, our parents, our kids. There is a lot of stuff to do and very little time to do it. But if you don't put yourself first and your sleep first, the rest doesn't matter. So here's what you're going to do. Reset your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is your body clock. That means you wake up with the sun, just back to where before we had clocks and electricity, and go to sleep at sunset. So sunrise, we wake up, sunset, we go to sleep. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean you have to get up at 4, 5, 6 a.m. and go to bed at 5, 6, 7. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to get more in sync with daylight and getting up in the morning and going to sleep at night. That means we don't want to keep hitting our snooze. That means we also at night don't want to stay up and just sit there and Netflix and chill and veg or be on our phones or our computers or whatever. So here's a few things you need to do. To reset your circadian rhythm, start getting up at the right time in the morning. And you decide what the right time is, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, something like that in the morning, getting up in the morning. If you are a late sleeper or if you're getting up too early, you start working with that 15 minutes to push it into a number that's good for you. Obviously, you have to work with your work schedule. So these are not etched in stone numbers. This is a ballpark. You want to be able to get sunlight first thing in the morning. And if any of you are here in upstate New York, that is a son of a gun to try to do with our seasons because most of the time it's gloomy. I'm sure there are other places in the country and in the world, but we're not in sunny Florida. We're not in the tropics. We're not in Puerto Rico. We're not getting the sun. So Any sunlight is better than nothing. And here's the caveat, sunlight on your eyes. So especially in the summer, because I am a fair weather girl, I will go and do my exercise outside in the mornings, but only if it's about 50 degrees or warmer. I really am not a big below 50 kind of person, but that's without sunglasses. So whether that is, driving to work without sunglasses on, window down a crack and getting some of that sunlight, sitting out in your 3-season room, going outside and going for a walk, whatever that is, try to get sunlight first thing in the morning. That helps to set your circadian rhythm. Second on that is waking up with the sun, getting the sunlight, is vitamin D. So vitamin D, which again, upstate New York, most of us are lacking in vitamin D. You probably need to talk to your doctor about a supplement. Your supplement dosage may be higher in the winter than it is in the summer. Think about those things. But you need sunlight to activate that vitamin D. Do you ever wonder why the people in Florida are so much happier? Yeah, because they have sun all the time. They have vitamin D. They're looking good and they're feeling good. We need that everywhere. So look at a vitamin D supplement. That is hugely important and it helps us with our mood. If you're having trouble, so we talked about the morning things. If you're having trouble sleeping, to get to sleep at night, whether you can't get to sleep or like I said, you fall dead asleep and then boom, you're shot awake for whatever reason after 20 minutes, 2 hours, you need to set the tone and you need to have a nighttime ritual. And there are some key things that you need to do for that nighttime ritual. So first and foremost is you need to set the tone of your sleeping quarters. That means your room has to be cool, dark, and comfortable. And so do you. So you want to make sure that it is dark so that when you are going to sleep, you don't still have any type of light. Now that doesn't mean obviously there's no sunlight, but your neighbors could have, their garage light peeping into your room, or you have, spotlights on your shed or whatever. You don't want to see any of those lights. So make sure you have those room darkening shades or blinds or something to make sure your room is dark. Try not to sleep with a nightlight, those sorts of things. Keep it dark. That will help you to stay focused on falling asleep and getting to sleep. 2, make sure you're comfortable. So loose clothing. We're going to get into hot flashes in a minute, but because many of us are having hot flashes / night sweats, you wake up soaked, you want to have that cool wicking material at night. That would be both your bedding as well as whatever you sleep in. Okay, so make sure. And then turn down the temperature. You need to have a cool room to sleep in. That might be 65 to 75 degrees, whether you keep it your house like that all the time or colder, or you turn it down at night. Make sure you have a cool, dark room to sleep in. That will help set your sleeping tone. That means your bedding, your room, your clothing are all comfortable and conducive to your sleep. Okay, so that's 1, 2, and 3. Sunlight, vitamin D, sleeping situation. I'm going to check my notes right now because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Here we go. The last part of this is going to be the unwind, right? So we started our day getting up, vitamin D, sunshine, getting moving. We talked about having our room set so it's comfortable, but we need to get this set too, right? So we may physically be ready to sleep. You may even feel tired and you're still wired. How many times have you felt tired and wired, right? We run on that tired and wired. So what you need to start doing is a couple of things in the evening, especially in the summer. Again, I'm talking from upstate New York. The sun might stay up until 9 o'clock at night. So if you're at home and the sun is still, out there, start turning down, closing your blinds. If it's dark already, turn off the lights in the house. We want to start thinking about, coming in cozy, dark, going back to that dark room, dim the lights, turn them off, whatever, but start to get into that sleep mode by turning the lights down or off. Close the blinds, get ready. With that comes screen time. And I know you guys have all heard this. Turn off the screen. The screen is the TV, is the phone, is the computer, is the PlayStation, whatever screen time, turn it off an hour before bed. Yep, I know. Trust me, I get it. Like my husband and I are big into, I don't get home from work till night. Let's, again, Netflix and chill. Let's find the new series that we're gonna, watch every single night until we fall asleep on the couch. No good for quality sleep. Turn off the screen time. Choose something else to relax you physically and mentally. You need to decide what that is. So a warm bath before bed, doing some light reading, having a good, conversation, listening to a podcast, something to kind of settle in, but also rewire that brain to get you into the mode for sleep. Now, there are other things you can try, sleep aids, magnesium, melatonin, those sorts of things help. Warm, cozy tea. There's, chamomile and sleepy teas. There is magnesium that has like melatonin and sleep aids in it. There are other things you can add on top of that, but you still need to do all the other stuff. Wake up with the sun, take the vitamin D, make sure you have a room that's conducive to sleep, cool, dark, comfortable, and start to unwind at the end of the day. That's not everything. Those are just the top 3 areas that you should focus on to get your sleep set. Okay? Start those simple things and see how you can slowly, little at a time, go from wherever you are right now to a good quality 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I personally went from 5 and I'm at probably 8, working on 8.5 hours of solid sleep. Amen. Hallelujah. Makes a world of difference when that alarm goes off in the morning and you have to, feet on the floor. So sleep. Number 2, and this is going to be a big one because this is one of the most common issues that I hear and that women experience is hot flashes and night sweats. What can I do about them? They can be debilitating. Now, not everybody has them. And I will warn you, you may get them, they may go away, and then they come back. So don't get into this set like, oh good, I only had them for a few months and they're gone. That was me. Oh, 2 months and then they were gone. I whizzed through that, no big deal. And then they came back worse than ever. They were more intense, they were longer, they were more frequent, they were all that yuck. So be warned, I'm just letting you know. But hot flashes and night sweats. So they're pretty much, in other areas of the world, they call them hot flushes. So hot flashes, hot flushes. And night sweats, same exact thing. One happens during the day, one happens at night. 2 different titles for the same thing that's happening in your body. So as your estrogen's dropping, we talked about homeostasis, we talked about balance. When your hormones are going out of balance and they're starting to go down, there's other hormones. It's not just your sex hormones, not just your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. There is thyroid hormones, adrenal hormones, pituitary hormones. There are other hormones that are going to change and try to increase because you're trying to get back into balance. So if you think about where your hormones are, they're in the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, and thyroid are major areas for your hormones production. Thyroid regulates, if you've heard about hypothyroid, regulates your metabolism and your internal thermostat. So when your estrogen drops, it will affect your hypothalamus, specifically the thyroid function, a little bit in that adrenals, again, not getting into the science today, and that's what will cause the hot flash. Your body's trying to self-regulate and cool it off because you're having an internal, and we all know this internal flame, this fire, that hot feeling that starts inside and kind of radiates outward. You may or may not get flushed. You're feeling like you're flushed. You may or may not sweat, and you just have to sit there and like stick your head out the window, fan yourself, do whatever it is. That's a hot flash. At night, you may wake up with like that adrenaline shock, that heart palpitations, you're drenched in sweat. That's your night sweats. So they are hormonally based, and there are some things you can do about them. So listen carefully. One of the number 1 things, and I'm going to say this first, is give up your alcohol. Yes, I know alcohol has proven to activate and be a trigger for hot flashes. Now, most of my clients are like, heck no, never, not giving up alcohol. And we're going to talk about alcohol more later on, but I want you to at least consider this. Whether you can reduce how much alcohol, and that would be instead of every single day, maybe having 1 glass every couple of days. Also, you need to bring that alcohol, if you're going to do it, earlier. We don't want it right before we go to bed. We know that alcohol disturbs our sleep anyway. It makes us fall asleep, but it doesn't help us stay asleep. Alcohol is not good for sleep, believe it or not. Some people use it as a relaxation, thinking it will help them. It will help you fall asleep. It will not help you stay asleep. So with alcohol, I want you to think about reducing and or removing it, especially in the evening. And there are probably certain alcohols, like red wine is a big trigger for your hot flashes. So that would be the number one thing you can do, because it is the most common trigger for most people, is alcohol, specifically red wine. The other thing that's a trigger is going to be caffeine. So again, have your morning coffee, that's great, but let's not have caffeine after, say, 3 o'clock in the day. Caffeine also has a afterlife. It will stay in your system a good 4, 5, 6 hours. So please make sure you reduce your caffeine intake and actually keep it into the morning hours, shorten that. Caffeine raises your body temp, increases your heart rate. It's a stimulant. It will potentially be a huge trigger for your hot flashes and night sweats. So if you want to get a good night's sleep, keep that 1 cup in the day. Try not to do the 2 cups. Try not to do cups, every couple hours. Focus on, again, removing or reducing your caffeine intake. Going along with those hot flashes, sleep, I've already talked to you about it. Believe it or not, the more rested you are, because fatigue will be a trigger for your hot flashes. I've already talked about that, but it is still sleep, having a good night's sleep, those kind of go hand in hand. If you don't have a good sleep, because you're having hot flashes, so you don't have a good sleep. So you really need to work on those two very, very much simultaneously. Sugar. Yep. You need to reduce, if not remove, sugar from your diet. And there is a plethora of reasons, but sugar as well can be a huge trigger. That means sweets. That also means certain carbs, white carbs like bread, those types of sugars. The high glycemic sugars, you need to remove those or reduce those from your diet, especially, again, if you're talking night sweats before bed. That will help with your night sweats and your hot flashes. Next is stress. Yep, stress. Think about it. Stress causes anxiety. It's a trigger. We feel it physically, raises our heart rate, therefore it raises our body temperature. So keeping your stress under control is huge. Again, if you ever work with me, we have a whole module in my Mastering Menopause 12-week program that focuses on stress, both environmental toxins as well as physical and emotional toxins, and how that can affect. I will touch on that in when we get to our gut health, and I think that's number 4 on my list. We're still at number 2. So reduce your stress. Next is increase the cruciferous vegetables and fresh fruits. So cruciferous vegetables, leafy greens, are great because of the micronutrients, as well as fresh fruits, specifically berries that have lots of antioxidants. That will actually help because you're feeding the good stuff that you need to feed. We're going to talk about that when we get to gut health, but eating a healthy diet will actually help reduce, because you're eliminating the caffeine, the sugar, and the alcohol, and putting in those micronutrients, antioxidants that we need so that we feel better in our everyday life. And that, again, we'll get into our gut health. So that will help with your hot flashes and night sweats. And the last part that I'm going to give you is exercise. But you want your exercise earlier in the day. Don't exercise at night. And of course, there's probably, my small group ladies training that we work out at 6 and 7 o'clock at night. Not ideal, but you don't want to be in a high intensity exercise in the evening that will raise your heart rate and raise your body temperature. Your body temperature naturally increases between 6 and 9 p.m. And then you add on top of that certain things that can trigger a hot flash, like alcohol, like exercise, and bam, there you are. The type of exercise that you should be doing, we're going to get into when we talk about our 6th strategy, which is fitness, but you want to think about the type of exercise. So for right now, we're just going to say exercise earlier in the day, and that's going to help you with the night sweats and will also help you because your cortisol levels are higher, and you're better able to deal with exercise in the morning when your cortisol levels are higher, because as the day goes through, they lower and our melatonin hopefully raises, and that's our sleep hormone. That's why it's really important to make sure that you're working with those hormones so that you're not triggering those hot flashes and night sweats, because you're working against that cortisol melatonin balance. Okay, that is decreasing your alcohol or removing, increasing your sleep, reducing your stress, eliminating sugar, eating healthy, and exercise. So the next area that I want to talk about, the next strategy, number 3, is your liver. Wow, liver function is crucial as we age. So I'm coming at you talking about menopause. On a side note, menopause is just a part of our aging, right? It's a natural process that happens. Men go through their own hormone changes. This is just, talking about women, because we don't have the same exact changes, but we are both, male and female, going through a process that has to do with aging. So the reason I say I'm Cheryl Vega, your midlife menopause mentor, is because I talk about midlife as well as menopause. They're not mutually exclusive, right? There are things that are indicative, like hot flashes. Those are menopausal, 100%. But there are other things that are happening in the aging process, and this is where I'm going to jump into the liver, that are happening simultaneously. So something like the liver is your biggest internal detoxification organ, right? Your skin is detoxification, but internally we're talking your liver, kidneys as well, but we're focusing on liver right now. Part of what the liver does that's in the detoxification is to get rid of whatever it doesn't need, the toxins, and the excess estrogens or xenoestrogens. Those are the estrogens, the things outside that mimic estrogen. They're not good. You don't want those. But your liver detoxes and removes that out of your system, whether then it then goes out through feces, goes to the kidney for urine, out through sweat, however it moves it through your body. But your liver is your detox organ. So here's the thing. Yes, estrogen affects, so your hormones affect your liver, because there is a change in the hormonal balance. But as we age, 2 things are also happening in our liver. Our liver is aging, just like anything else. If over time, if you're a car, I consider myself a 1967 edition. You may take pick whatever car you want. 1967 car A, 1967 car B. If you're taking care of that car, it will age slower than this car over here that you didn't take care of. You didn't do the oil changes, you didn't rotate the tires, whatever, it didn't happen. But they're both going to be aging. So your liver too is going to be aging. Your transmission, I don't know what detox is in a car, but whatever, your system is aging. Your liver is going to age. Its function is going to slow down. It will not be as productive as it used to be. It's just a matter of how quickly your liver ages, okay? So taking care of it is important. But if you get to a certain age, you're still going to have a more sluggish liver than someone 20 years younger, no matter how well you took care of yourself, right? You're still going to. My 25-year-old daughter and myself at 55, we could have the exact same lifestyle and the exact same, biology, DNA, but my liver is going to age. It's going to be slow down. It's going to be sluggish. And here we're going back to alcohol, ladies. There's an enzyme in your liver that decreases as you age, which makes your ability to process and digest alcohol slow, and alcohol will affect you more than that counterpart, that 25-year-old. So going back to my 25-year-old daughter and myself, everything being equal except our age, My liver is not able to metabolize the alcohol as quickly and as efficiently as her liver because that enzyme is decreasing as I age. So anyone that has done any sort of alcohol training, they have an analogy in that training or that scenario. I think they use a 25-year-old guy, but same thing, 25-year-old, 55-year-old, same amount of drinks, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one over here, same height, same weight, same whatever, is going to get drunker faster. And then the 25-year-old and the repercussions and the hangover and all that are going to be worse and last longer. Your body cannot metabolize alcohol. So when I go back to talking about your liver in menopause and in aging, we have to detox our liver. Now, I use that word very loosely. Your liver already detoxes. That's its job, is to detox. You're not going to make it detox. So what I like to say is we want to give our liver some love. We want to help it. We don't want to give it the alcohol and the sugar and all that stuff that's going to bog it down when it's already trying to chug along slowly. We want to be able to help it by taking out the stuff that's going to slow it down even more and giving it the stuff that's going to help it speed up. Okay? So it's important for our number 3 on the list to do a liver detox. Anybody that is in my Fit and Fabulous group, I kind of did a little mini liver detox. It takes about 6 weeks for your liver to fully regenerate and detox. So if you are scrolling for a liver detox and they're either giving you supplements or powders or a pill, 2, if they're telling you it's a 1 day, 3 days, 7 day, it takes time for you to thoroughly and appropriately allow your liver the love and the relief to detox properly. You can do it yourself in 6 weeks with whole foods. That's important. There is no fancy pill that is going to help you with this, but there are things you need to remove from your diet. So as I mentioned before, alcohol. If you can get rid of it for 6 weeks, what is this, dry January? Now's the perfect time. Get it out of your diet. If you can't, again, let's go back to limiting. Your body can probably digest 1 drink every 2 to 3 days. Your liver can metabolize approximately, and that's a very general statement, 1 drink every 2 to 3 days. So if you can at least reduce that down. So that doesn't mean like, well, I usually drink, 1 drink every night, 5 days a week. I'm going to have all 5 on the weekend. It doesn't work that way. Or I'm going to have only 3 on the weekend. It doesn't work that way. 1 drink every 2 to 3 days or less. 0 is ideal to help detox your liver. 2, going back to that sugar. Sugar is a toxin. It is similar in addiction to cocaine, heroin. It is highly addictive and it is highly destructive. If you were to follow anyone, I love Dr. Mark Hyman. Go ahead, follow him. He's a functional doctor out of the Cleveland Clinic. He's amazing. Every illness can go stem back to sugar. And I'll tell you why really briefly. Sugar can cause inflammation, and inflammation causes everything else. That's where we get into sugar causes diabetes. Sugar contributes to obesity. Sugar contributes to inflammation. Inflammation goes into all those autoimmune diseases. Sugar is not good. There are sugar substitutes, but be careful that it's not just something like, I can't even think of any, sucralose or whatever. I would talk something about like a monk fruit, coconut sugar, something that has a lower impact. But sugar, raw sugar, get it out of your diet. The other thing is processed foods, especially what I like to call ultra processed foods. So processed foods are anything that didn't grow in the ground, right? It wasn't alive at any time. So I'm going to use crackers as a great example. Crackers are a processed food. It did not grow. We did not go out and hunt it. It is a processed food. It had to be manufactured. The difference between a processed food and an ultra processed food is how processed it is, honestly. So I always like to use the analogy of the exact same company, which I believe is Nabisco, don't quote me on that, and take a box of Wheat Thins and take a box of Triscuits. In the name, Wheat Thins gives you, it's a whole wheat, family-friendly, healthy cracker versus your Triscuits. I wish I had the boxes here so you had a visual, versus your Triscuits. Both are processed. Triscuits, in my definition, would be a processed food with the caveat, if you look at the ingredients, it is going to be wheat, salt, and some sort of oil, right? Safflower, sunflower, something like that. So it's still processed, not going to be number one on my list, but I'm also not going to be like, can't ever have it, right? If you look at a wheat thin, guarantee there are 12, 15, 16 different chemicals and ingredients in the wheat thins that you don't need. So if you're going to choose processed foods, stay away from the ultra processed, those wheat thins, and go for less processed, like a Triscuit. 3 ingredients or less, and you can pronounce all 3 of them: wheat, salt, and oil. Easy peasy. Okay, so you want to get rid of all the ultra processed. If you can get rid of all processed, amen, hallelujah. Most of us find it difficult. We want to have that little crunch here and there. That's okay. Try celery. If not, go ahead and grab your Triscuit. After ultra processed foods, here we go. I already said no alcohol, no sugar, no ultra processed foods, no wheat. Wheat is highly inflammatory, especially our wheat, the way it is processed, and it is highly processed. GMO, our government has done a huge job in making sure that we have GMO wheat, so that we have wheat that has been grown to be highly quick, easy, and profitable for our farmers. And I'm not slamming the farmers, I'm just talking about what's actually happening. So they're stripping our grains from anything that is beneficial and nutritious, and they're reprocessing, and there are so many chemicals and things put back into it, being torn away and then pushed back in, that we then end up with something that is not as pure and nutritious as it should be. It is highly inflammatory. Whether you have a gluten sensitivity, a gluten allergy, or a full-blown gluten, what's it called? What's the allergy? Crohn's. No, not Crohn's. You know what I mean. Totally blanked on that. This is the brain fog that happens during menopause. It doesn't matter. They're all different levels. Take wheat out. I guarantee if you take it out, when you go to reintroduce it, there is about 80% of the population that will have some sort of bloating, inflammation reaction to the wheat. And you have to be very careful of that. Celiac, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was like literally right there. Love you. That was Rachel, thank you. Dairy, that was not, so that's gonna be number 5. No alcohol, no sugar, no ultra processed foods, no wheat, no dairy. Dairy can also, so if when your kids were little, I don't know about you, but I would take them in for, some kind of cold or ear infection or whatever, and the doctor would say, okay, take them off of milk. Because milk, dairy, can be bloating and also inflammatory. It produces mucus and things. So we really want to stay away from that. Not everybody, and I'm not going to quote the numbers, but it's like, say 80% of the population has a wheat allergy, 50% of the population has like a dairy allergy, but 70% of those people have both. So be very careful with that, okay? But by removing those things, your next question to me is going to be, well, then what the heck is left to eat? There is a lot. Anything that was grown or hunted, I guess we'll say, or fished, farmed, is fine to eat. So what I want you to start thinking about is focusing on your healthy proteins and your vegetables. There is a plethora of different things you can do, especially, and it's just little things like zoodles. We have now zucchini noodles, cauliflower rice. Let's take the cauliflower and turn it into rice, or cauliflower hash. I have it in the morning sometimes with eggs and peppers and onions and instead of potatoes. So there's a ton of things you can do with your vegetables. Broccoli rice you can do. There are a lot of products. I know I just said no processed foods, but look at how that product was made, because there are glass noodles and there are rice noodles and things like that you can put and substitute for the wheat. Okay, there are also non-dairy milks and non-dairy creamers so that you're not getting the dairy in there. I'm going to get into a little bit later, but make sure, especially because those are still processed, that you know what's in them and how they will affect you. I will touch on that a little bit. So what I want you to do is give your liver some love, detox from alcohol, sugar, processed foods, wheat, and dairy for 6 weeks. I guarantee you will feel the difference. Focus on your plate. being 25% of your plate protein and 75% of your plate vegetables. That may be, I am on this big halibut, no, I can't remember, halibut. It's in my freezer. Oh my gosh, it's like the best fish ever. So I have been doing that with just turmeric, black pepper, garlic, and salt, putting it in my air fryer, and then I'll pick either a big salad, maybe a big spinach salad that's got pickled onions and mushrooms and stuff in it, or I'll pick like 2 veggies, say steamed broccolini, and I love baby bok choy, so I'll like saute a little baby bok choy, and I will eat tons of that and feel very satisfied, very full. Eating healthy doesn't have to be, oh, I had tilapia and asparagus again, or I had steamed broccoli and grilled chicken again. Think outside the box, especially with things like forks over knives, and Sweet Pea is doing a challenge through our local school for the Good Health, the Good Food Challenge. They're giving you tons of recipes. There are a litany of great things that you can eat and still feel satisfied and nutritious for your body. So I'm going to go on to number 4, your gut health. This is huge. And this is where I might jump in with a little bit of my props over here. So gut health, if you've heard about there's leaky gut syndrome, and that's when the lining of your gut is permeable and food is and substances are able to get out into your bloodstream. So you want to make sure you have a healthy gut. It's really important to have a healthy gut. You may have heard of the gut brain axis, the connection, the gut being your second brain, or the gut being the brain, and it feeds your actual brain. So there's lots of different talk out there about gut, but gut health is huge because it doesn't just affect your gut and your digestion and your energy level, but it affects your moods hugely, because you have to think about what you feed yourself is feeding that brain. Our brain is like 60% made of fat. Carbs are our energy, protein that we feed it to give it to our muscles and our organs. So the gut is huge to take care of your gut and your digestion. The biggest thing, and I'm sure you've heard the terms, are the pre and the probiotics. That is huge. First off, let's talk about what they are. Take a sip of water really quick, sorry. So I want you to think of probiotics, like pro, and I do this because I want you to think of them as your soldiers. They are the healthy gut bacteria, the microorganisms that you need in your gut. Those are your probiotics. You need those in your gut. They're the soldiers that do the work, okay? Prebiotics is what actually feeds those soldiers. That's what feeds your gut microbiome. Okay, so the probiotics, think pro, they're your soldiers. The prebiotics, think feed, that's the food to feed your gut microbiome and feed that healthy gut bacteria. The number one source should be a food source before you go to supplements. That's important. Supplements are only going to get you so far because the food is going to give you the other benefits like the antioxidants, the vitamins, the minerals, not just the healthy gut stuff, okay? So going into probiotics first. So the probiotics, which is the live good bacteria, that's gonna be the fermented foods. So that's gonna be, you talk about the yogurts that have all that good bacteria. It's the bacteria that you need, that's gonna be in your yogurt. Make sure you're getting a really good yogurt. You want something that is not sugared, not flavored. I love Fage. It's the original Greek yogurt, whatever, plain. I'll sweeten it with, maple syrup, like all natural, or local grown honey, that type of thing. So yogurt is a great source for your probiotic. A couple other things, if you've ever heard of kefir. Kefir is another, it's in your dairy aisle. Kombucha is another one. Be careful with your kombuchas. Most of them are very high in sugar. You can actually order a mother and do your own kombucha if you are so entitled. It is on my hit list for 2023 to actually try to do my own, because I do find the ones that I buy in the store, and I haven't done enough research to find a product that is that I can order somewhere, but the ones that are here local that I'm running into are very high in sugar. Because they're fermented, there is going to be an alcohol content. It's not high, but you may feel, if you, like I'm very dry, I don't drink alcohol, I will feel it in the kombucha. I'll feel that little bit. And yes, you can make your own kefir. I have no idea how to do that. Sorry, that one I don't know. Kombucha I've looked into, so I know you can get the mother and you can get the whole, sugar brewing and the tea and all that. I don't know how to do the kefir, but I know friends that do that. Absolutely, absolutely. And that's awesome because you know what's in it because you put it in there. Sauerkraut, another great thing, and that's easy to do. So sauerkraut, fermented food. What's it called? Kimchi? I tried it once. Kimchi. There you go. I wasn't a big fan. I have to put it in something else, but it could have just been the brand that I used. There are certain pickles that are fermented properly, not just the ones that you're going to get the kosher dill off the shelf. You have to go into the refrigerated area. Tempeh, which is a soy that is fermented, is another one. And I think I hit most of the biggies. So you want you to think of probiotics, fermented foods. Now, because I don't currently, for me, do a lot of those, like sauerkraut is more of a summertime thing. I'm really not doing a lot of kombucha or kefir or whatever. I do yogurt, but I try to watch the dairy, so that's a catch-22. I have found, and I'm not promoting this more than the fact that I love this, super greens. So although it says super greens, and this company is called NutriChamp, the reason, and one of my clients brought this to me and she said, oh, hey, this is what I'm taking. And I have to put my glasses on so I can do this justice. And I'm like, oh, let me see, because a lot of those super greens have other, excuse my language, but crap in them that you don't really need. And I turned it around and I read, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's an antioxidant blend. Well, you need antioxidants to help with oxidative stress, to help, with all of this in your cellular level. Because as we age, our antioxidants are not as strong and activated. So that's why you want the foods. But in here, it's got all the wonderful things like beet and apple and goji berry and so on and so forth. The other thing that I love about this is it's got the greens. So a little extra green, which has got spinach and kale and just name a bunch of green stuff. Alfalfa, broccoli, sprouts is in here. The other thing is got digestive enzymes, which is huge. So I will talk about this in a little bit more detail, but digestive enzymes helps with your digestion, helps with that gut microbiome. But it's got your probiotics, and it's got a good amount and a good variation of probiotics. Now, I'm going to touch on this a little bit, and this is going hand in hand. Your gut and your liver work together, right? They're all in that same area. They're digesting and detoxing. So I have on my page and in my private group a green juice. I call it the liver detox juice. I swear by this. It is a very simple recipe of cucumber, spinach, or kale. I just like spinach better. Celery, lemon juice, ginger. You can put in cilantro or parsley if you'd like. You could probably put in some mint. The recipe calls for green apple. But what I've done is the green apple actually, it's a resistant starch. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I took the green apple out of that formula or that recipe because it was basically to sweeten it, right? Because if you have celery, spinach, a little bit of lemon, ginger, and cucumber, you don't really have a lot of sweet. So I'd always put like a half a green apple in there to sweeten it. But with this super green formula, it's got enough sweetness into it that I took the green apple out, because it's better for you anyway to actually eat the apple and digest it and have the fiber than to blend it all up into a juice. And I put in a scoop of this. So my morning ritual is that green juice with a scoop of this. The first thing that goes into my belly in the morning before I have tea or coffee or anything. I might have water when I take, some of my vitamins and stuff, but this is what I take. I swear by this right now. I love it. I also always tell people that when I was taking care of my since passed father-in-law, he stayed with us for about 6 weeks when he was recovering from an illness. He was a diabetic. I had changed his diet and I put him on a green juice first thing every morning to help stabilize his blood sugar levels. And within the 6 weeks that he was with me, I was it was during a COVID-y time, so we were doing Zoom calls with the doctor. The doctor was able to take him off all of his diabetes medication at over 80 years of age because we were able to lower the sodium and the sugar in his diet, go to a whole foods diet, and added that juice to help. So I swear by this stuff, and it's just your natural foods. But the ginger helps with detox, the lemon helps with your pH balance. So putting that combination is really, really good for your gut health. So I strongly recommend it. Getting into the prebiotics, that's the stuff that you feed your healthy microbiome, your healthy bacteria. So that's going to be along the lines of like resistant starches. So prebiotics and resistant starches fall into the same lines. So that's things like oats, greenish bananas. So if they get to be where they've got the brown spots on them, they've passed their time. You need them before they turn brown bananas, the resistant starch in those, or the prebiotics. So bananas, apples actually have that. Some other foods, onion, garlic are really good. I always talk about ginger and turmeric because they help again with digestion, and they have a lot of anti-inflammatory things that are in them. I will put turmeric in some of my smoothies. I will turmeric into my like cauliflower that I roast. So if you can add any of those types of things, onions, garlic, ginger, and turmeric, those are my top ones, into any of your recipes and your foods, do so. As far as getting back to those prebiotic foods, Jerusalem artichokes, and I think like dandelion root, I don't really do a lot with that. I will tell you, I know back in the day, because I come from an Italian family, that was a big deal. I think they're called, I know it's been so long, garbones or something like that. Anyway, they're supposed to be really healthy too. But Jerusalem artichokes are really good. They're not artichokes. They're more of a root family. I know Wegmans has them. You can roast those. It kind of takes the place of like a potato or a French fry. I like the taste of them. Drizzle a little olive oil, sea salt, and you're good to go. But those have those prebiotics, which are the healthy fibers and food for your gut. You want to aim for 25 to 30 grams of fiber, especially as a premenopausal, menopausal woman. So some of the things you need to keep in place are going to definitely be magnesium. Look and see where your levels are. Make sure it's a highly absorbable. And fiber. Fiber is huge. 25 to 30 grams is going to help with your digestion, is going to help you stay regular, and is going to help with that bloating and that middle belly weight gain. Getting back to resistant starches. So I started talking about bananas and apples and things like that. Bananas, cooled white potatoes or white rice. So this is what I do. I do a ton of rice bowls, but what I do is I take my rice cooker, I boil my rice in my rice cooker, and then I put it into the glass containers and I put it in the fridge and it cools. And then I make my rice bowls. So I'll take out my cooled rice and then I'll put all my other stuff in there, my protein and my veggies and my sauces and whatever, and make a rice bowl. Because your potatoes and your rices, when you eat them hot, have a higher glycemic index than when after they're cooled. If you think about it, it's like you're gonna boil it and it bursts open. Once it cools, it closes, whatever it is, that releases the sugars, the cells, and it's able to now be a resistant starch, which is giving you healthy gut bacteria that you need to feed your gut. And if it's cooled, that turns into the resistant starch. So you can do that. You can also do that with, like, maybe you want to do a rice salad. I do potatoes. I'll do like a potato salad in the summer. And it's basically, I boil the little mini potatoes and green beans, let it all cool, throw in some basil, garlic, olive oil, and salt, and make a potato salad that way. No mayonnaise, nothing hot, and it's a great way to get it into my system as well as my family's, and it's very tasty. So I want you to think about that for your gut. Last two things, because I am cutting it right into the hour that I wanted to keep it at, but these are quick and short and easy. Now we're going to get into what do you do for diet and exercise. So this is number 5 and number 6. So as we age, we need to change our diet and our exercise. We cannot process the foods, like I said, sugar, alcohol, so on and so forth, the way we used to be. The carbohydrates, the white starches. Not only is our food system changing, but so is our microbiome and our body and our digestibility of certain foods. So If you know anything at all about nutrition, you probably have heard of the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is very different than our American diet. So we have something called SAD. It's the standard American diet. Sucks for us. Fast food, high in fat, all that kind of stuff. Even if you looked at our food pyramid that our government tells us to go on, you'll see at the bottom it says, grains, rice, pasta, and works our way up. It does a lot of dairy and things like that I'm not a big fan of. I'm not going to say I never do dairy, but I'm not a milk drinker. I personally see no point in milk. There's no other species that drinks milk from another animal except for us, and there is no species that drinks milk after they've weaned onto food. So I'm going to go with what nature says. I really don't think I need milk per se. Doesn't mean I don't have cottage cheese here and there or a good Greek yogurt. I use cheese as like a sprinkling of feta or goat cheese in a salad, those sorts of things. So I'm not going to say absolutely no to dairy, but I just don't feel that I need to do that and drink, milk per se. Now, back to the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet will focus on the bottom being your fruits and vegetables. If you were to ever actually go there, their food is very different than ours. There are far less chemicals, doesn't have the preservatives, but they really focus on their fruits and vegetables and their legumes, beans, those sorts of things. Those are the staples of their diet. They then focus on seafood. And a lot of it, obviously, especially over in the Mediterranean, right? You're going to get nice, fresh seafood. You're not going to get shipped over from some other place and have, shot full of like salmon right now, depending on where you're getting it. They're putting coloring in it to make it look prettier, so on and so forth. You're getting fresh right out of the Mediterranean seafood. So their diet, and that's what you need to do is talk about, where you're getting your food from, because we are not as blessed. But they talk about seafood next. Their meat is at the very top, up with where we would put sweets. They have very limited, especially red meat. They really focus on seafood, maybe a little bit of chicken, but red meat is at the top. So I want you to start thinking about looking at the Mediterranean diet. The only oil they use is olive oil, especially if it's first pressed cold olive oil. That's your best, highest quality. It's not pressed, with multiple pressings, meaning you're not getting the quality of that olive press. I'm not a maker of olive oil. I'm just talking about what I know. Also, it's also not going to be combined with any other oils. So I really want you to focus on the Mediterranean diet, which focuses on fruits and vegetables, lots of cruciferous vegetables. Those are going to be broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, Brussels sprouts. Those are huge. Anything leafy green, amazing. The darker the color. And you want a variety. Like during the course of the week, that number should be about 30 different varieties of fruits and vegetables, tomatoes, eggplant, zucchini, red peppers, because this way you're getting the rainbow of the foods, of the micronutrients that you need. So really focus on that. Like I said, a little bit of meat or fish. Dairy, I consider a condiment, like cheeses on top of things. Nuts and seeds, I consider a condiment, sprinkling on top. Legumes are great. I actually do refried black beans in the morning with my eggs. It fills me up longer. It's a resistant starch as well, and it's giving me a lot of the micronutrients that I need. So I want you to focus on a Mediterranean diet to help ease your menopausal symptoms and help with that middle belly bloat, because that means we're taking out the dairy when we're taking out a lot of the wheat, right? Focus on whole grains, oats. Oats are great. Make sure you get a good quality oat. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and then if I have time, I want to show a few things that I have, but fitness. Your fitness as you age needs to change. You cannot do the high impact, high intensity training that you used to be able to do. It is putting too much strain and stress on your cortisol levels and your joints. Yep, I know. I used to teach HIIT. As we age, I have a saying now, just because I can doesn't mean I should, right? Just because I can do a high intensity interval training and I can do HIIT doesn't mean I should. And if I do it, I'm working at my own pace, keeping my heart rate into my fat burning zone, not letting it spike up too high, keeping my cortisol levels under control, and I'm doing it earlier in the day so that I have time to rest and recuperate, and I'm not going to do it back to back 5 days a week. All those things are changed. So we're going to throw that out the window. Your fitness should consist of 3 major categories. Number 1, some sort of cardio. And that can be what we call slow state cardio. And that is not getting on the treadmill and running. That could be, at my gym, I love the arc trainer. I can get my heart rate up. I'm not putting any strain on my joints. I'm just kind of gliding along, getting a good workout in, and I can do that 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes. Great cardio. In the summer, I walk. If I'm inside walking on the treadmill, I have an incline to help my heart rate up. But in the summer, when I'm outside, I'm hitting the trails and I'm walking, not walking my dog. Don't have a dog, but when I did, my dog, your dog, is going to stop every mailbox to sniff and take a pee. That is not keeping you in that fat burning zone, keeping your heart rate going. So don't take your dog for a walk unless they're going to be at a little jog next to you. You want to be walking so that you can carry on a conversation, but it is difficult to maintain because your arms are pumping and you're moving at a good clip. I remember the first time I said to Colin, hey, let's go for a walk. He even said to me, how fast do you go? I said, I got to get my heart rate up. This isn't a leisurely walk. This isn't to digest after dinner. This is an exercise. So I want you to think about walking, arc trainer, elliptical, swimming, biking, recumbent bike, whatever it is, to do some sort of slow state cardio, to exercise your heart, work in the fat burning zone, figure out what your heart rate should be. 220 minus your age, that's your max heart rate. You only want to work about 65 to 75, 60 to 70% of that. Okay? Got it. Number 2, strength training. You need to do resistance weight bearing exercises, whether it's body weight or actual dumbbell weight. You need to do weight bearing exercises. If you're at home, come up with resistant bands, do weighted squats. You can grab a couple of gallons of water to add to your squat, do push-ups, do whatever you can, but you want weight bearing. Weight bearing is for multiple reasons. One is you need to have muscle tone. If you don't use it, you will lose it. At the age of 30, we start to lose our muscle tone and it continues. If you're not using it, you will lose it. What will happen, remember I said what you do in your 20s and 30s, whatever, will affect your 40s and 50s. If you haven't used your muscles with any resistance type of weight bearing exercise, over time, your joints will start picking up the job of your muscles. So when you all of a sudden hear people that have to have hip replacements or knee replacements, especially if you're overweight, because extra weight will give extra pressure. Every extra pound you carry is an extra 4 pounds on your knees, 8 pounds on your feet. So that's important to make sure you're not carrying excess weight, but that you're building your muscle to support your body weight. Because if your joints are doing it, that's not their job. Your joints are meant to rotate and move. They're not meant to lift. Your muscles, and I'm going to use your legs as an example, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes are meant to help you walk upstairs, walk on the sidewalk, whatever, not your joints. And I see too many people coming into the gym that are one step away from a hip or knee replacement because they haven't worked their muscles, they have excess weight, it is putting strain on their joints, and we're done. You need to do strength training. Not only do you need to build your muscles, but by building your muscles so that they're doing the job that they were intended, you will increase your metabolism. That will speed up your metabolism. You will burn your calories more efficiently, and it leads to weight loss. Okay? So I want to make sure that you're adding some sort of resistance training. That is key. The last part is it does actually help with bone density. If you think about it, your tendons, ligaments, muscles are all in there attached to that bone. Every time you move, you're actually working your bones and help strengthening them. So your weightlifting helps your muscles, your metabolism, and your bone density. On top of that, we can get into it. It helps with your core because you have to have the right form, so on and so forth. So please add some strength training, a minimum of 2, ideally 3 times a week. And the last part of that, after your cardio, after your strength training, is some sort of stretching flexibility. Whether you do yoga, whether you take a stretch class, or whether you're just stretching out after your workout, you need to make sure that we're stretching and releasing the lactic acid and we're stretching out those muscles. I'm going to quickly flip over to something over here. A couple of things that help with not just stretching, but getting into lymphatic drainage. I do it on my face, but you can do it on your whole body. There are things like dry brushing. Dry brush before the shower. It helps stimulate your lymph system. It is also great to get rid of dead skin. Do it before the shower. Find a YouTube video. You're going to work from your extremities towards your heart. You're going to make sure that you've opened up your collarbone to get things going. But dry brushing is something I do every time before I get in the shower. Love it. After I shower, I actually do this. I have this little, it's called anti-cellulite massage oil. I don't know how much it's actually helping with cellulite, but I got it for like 20 bucks on Amazon. And then I have like a little muscle, kind of like, it's not a foam roller. We have foam rollers in the gym, but like massager. And I actually go over, especially my cellulite areas, trying to break up the fat. And I will actually dig into my fat pockets. Not too hard, you don't want to be bruising or anything, but getting that lymph drainage and getting it moving. So those are two things that I like to do in my daily routine. And I know I'm going over time, but these are things that I just personally do that I have found have been beneficial besides my greens, is to do some sort of dry brushing and self-massage for my lymph system. Helps with inflammation, helps get the toxins out. We talked about that a little bit earlier with liver and gut. The other thing is you can do cupping, and you can buy these little cups, and they have little teeny baby ones for like your sinuses, and you can do cupping. Again, use this oil or a face oil, find a video and do some cupping, pull that lymph fluid and get it out. That's part of your detoxification. This was like less than 20 bucks, and I've got like a ton of little cups in here, all the way up to I won't get it on the bottom, but there's like a nice big, like a size bigger than this even, and you can do a lot of that. The other thing I want you to do, and if you haven't already, get an app. There's one called Think Dirty. I will highly recommend my clients know Yucca, Y-U-K-A app. I can't show it to you because I'm broadcasting from my phone. Y-U-K-A Yucca app. It is an app that is not funded. It's a nonprofit. It's not funded by any big pharma, big business. And what it is, it will show you the toxin level and how it affects you in your products. That will be both your food products and your personal care cleaning products. I love it. I went through my whole face. I have like 6 different things with vitamin C and retinol. You know, we got aging skin, we got to take care of it. And lotions and creams and this and that. Out of my 6, 3 came up as highly toxic. 3 came up as ding, ding, ding winners. It's on a rating scale of 0 to 100, and it will break it up into poor, bad, good, and excellent. So, you know, some of the excellence, just to share with you, is this Herbivore Aquarius. This is my moisturizer. It doesn't mean it wasn't very expensive, but this came up as highly rated. There are Cetaphils and CeraVes and things like that, Oil of Olay, certain, not all products, certain ones are good. I also use, and I love this Blue Tangy. So this is my face oil that I use. It smells great, even though there's no fragrance in it, and it helps with that lymphatic drainage. And then I use a Matrixyl serum that also has hyaluronic acid to help with aging and wrinkles. So these came up, and this is from Skin Diva. So these came up as rated very high. Do the same with your food products. And that's where I'm going to go back to the non-dairy milks. I loved Oatly brand Barista, swore by it, loved it. Starbucks uses it, has to be great. Came up with a score of 30. There's like carcinogens in the oat milk. So be careful. Do the same thing with your laundry detergent, with your deodorant. I just switched. I was using Tom's, but it was like a smelly one. I don't know what the scent was. It was not good. It was not rated. So I just switched over to, this is Schmidt's. I don't know if you can see, it's probably backwards. Love this one. I actually did a trial the other night. My ladies know I put Schmidt's on one arm and I got Native on the other. Put them both on because I want to make sure not only is it non-toxic, but does it work? I don't want to be walking around smelling like an armpit, especially because I work in a gym. So this is one that I would highly recommend. Get your Yucca app and you will be going nutso, walking around your house, checking your laundry detergents, your personal care products, your cleaning products, your food products. I think I bought Cheez-Its, which I know aren't good for me. Bought him for Colin when he was sick for whatever reason. They came up with 3 out of 100. Again, 3 hazardous chemicals in Cheez-Its, in the foods that we are serving our, our grandkids, our kids, our nieces and nephews. So please, Yucca app is a paid app. They look for a donation. It's between $8 and $20 for the year. I think there are carcinogens in everything, in the fragrances, in the candles, in the plugins, in the laundry detergents, in the chemicals on our lawn, in our water, in the plastics water bottles, in the Tupperware products, like whatever. You need to detox. And I am a firm believer that the more toxins I can remove, the less taxing it is on my body, and the healthier I will be and able to detox when I do choose to have that glass of wine or whatever it is and kind of go off. So I love that you came here today. Quick recap. Focusing on menopause, you're probably in it. If you are 40 years of age, you are on your way. Get ready. Hunker down. Lifestyle changes. Get your sleep. When you start getting those hot flashes, think about how those tips that I told you to get them under control. Won't hurt. This is the perfect time of year after the holidays. Do a 6-week liver detox. Remove those environmental as well as triggers from your environment and your microbiome. Gut, make sure you're getting your pre and probiotics. Get that gut bacteria under control. Next, nutrition. Focus on a Mediterranean diet. Go as natural as you can, focusing on proteins and vegetables. And last, fitness. Get moving, get stretching, and get lifting. That is all. I appreciate you coming out here in health and happiness. I will tell you, if you would like a consult, jump over and book a consult, whether it's through VIP or my Shape by Cheryl. I put some links in this video. I also have some freebies for you over on my Instagram. I have a free menopause method. It is a 7-day program that you can go through focusing on these things that I talked about today. And I want you to stay tuned. Follow me on all the grams and the social media and the TikToks and all those things, those social media channels, because I will be launching my premier 12-week Mastering Menopause program that will not only cover all of these topics, but it will get into accountability, consistency, habit changing, and behaviors, and mindset, and meditation, and so much more, because this is the year for you to make a difference in your life. No more sitting on the sidelines. No more waiting for one day it's going to be good for me to change my diet. One day I'm going to get to the gym. One day I'm going to change that cleaning product. One day I'm going to get my sleep under control. Stop. Do it now, because there's never going to be a good time. Get it done. Join me, follow me, reach out to me. I am here to help. You are the people that I serve. You are my passion. You are my light. And in health and happiness, have a great rest of your weekend, and thank you for tuning in.